Hey, good evening, my friends. How are you? If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. And also, if you have not, well, if you're in the diaspora, you can get my book, Kindle version, even the revised one, in Amazon. It's called Through the Wilderness of Life. You can probably see it right at the top corner up there. But please subscribe to the channel. That's why I put a lot of this information that I keep on passing along. Things I've experienced, things I've read, things I've researched in all sorts of fields. So I would like to tell you a story today about a friend of mine who I met in 1973 when I went to Form 1. I found him in Form 2 and we became very good friends. Well, I made very many good friends in high school and in other places. I make friends easily. I also make enemies, but not too many, and I hope there are not too many, and eventually we reconcile. But there are some intractable ones that I've been unable to reconcile with. I tried and I didn't manage, so I gave up. Anyway, so I want to tell you about this friend of mine. I went to see him yesterday. In fact, he appears in my book because I found him in Form 2 when I went in Form 1. And then when I was employed in the civil service, I was posted to Kilifi. I found him there as well. So, and then we've been meeting all over the place. You know, it's one of those people that we have a lot in common. So this friend of mine started ailing some while back. You know, blood pressure, diabetes. Of course, you start with diabetes, then it goes to blood pressure, then and it's normally rapidly downhill if one is not careful. And having walked that path myself, including, of course, fighting with cancer, whenever a friend is in problems, I always try to talk to them and I try to advise them and I tell them my own story so maybe they can get helped. They can, or rather they can help themselves. So anyway, so this friend of mine started ailing a while back. We had a chat and once in a while I'd give him a phone call, and he retired from the civil service and went to live at home. He comes from a place called Kenyatta in Yatta. So over time we lost touch. It always happens. Well, okay, a lot of the times it happens. Not always, but a lot of the times it happened. Because I kept on calling him, his phone was off. So I don't know what I thought. I didn't want to think what could be the reason I cannot get him on phone. So, and I carried on with my life. Now, some 2 weeks ago, somebody called me and said he'd been given my number by this gentleman. He needed some help somewhere. So, of course, I gave him the help as much as I could. Then I called this number of my friend. And yes, actually, the guy told me that my friend had been ailing for a very long time. And he's now in a hospital in Nairobi, in Longata Rongai, actually. So I called him. I said, what's happening? And he told me a very, very, very interesting story. So I took time. I went there yesterday. I went to see him yesterday. And he tells me that, as expected, diabetes was getting worse and worse. He was getting more medicines. Then it became hypertension. So he started getting hypertension medicine and so on and so forth, until it got to a point where he was admitted. So he was admitted in one of the hospitals, a local government hospital. And one of the things he says is a lot of the things that he was being asked to buy, to go and buy from the chemists around, some of them he would be told they would not be found in any chemist, but these guys knew where to get them, which obviously means that, you know what that means, that things are brought with our money, it's taken to the local hospital, to the government hospital, and the staff hide them and start selling them to patients. So if you don't have money, you don't get treatment. So anyway, my friend, now he's told, mahali umefika, it's time for dialysis. So he's told to buy things for dialysis, blah, blah, whatever, including those ones which could not be found. He was told they could be found in that hospital. And then one nurse told him, I'm telling you this and don't ask me questions, but please don't do your dialysis here in this hospital. The guy was like, what do you mean? He said, I said, don't ask me any questions, but don't do the dialysis here. So his son is a paramedic. So he called, there's a son of a friend who is a paramedic. So they called him. He's based at Kenyatta and said, can you book? He's actually an uncle. Can you book your uncle for dialysis at Kenyatta? And they said, okay, we are going to do it. So arrangements were made for the transfer from this hospital in Ukambani to Kenyatta Hospital. Then the young man said, by the way, what seems to be the problem with you? And he said, well, he explained to him. And he said, well, my father was also going to go for dialysis, but we were given an alternative. And he's now doing very well. I'd proposed instead of coming to Kenyatta, he go to this place. It's in Ongata Rongai. So he was given the directions. And he ended up in Ongata Rongai. By that time, his legs were swollen, his hands were swollen, the face was swollen. Basically, liquids were backing up. The way those who have had a run with kidney problems. Because his kidneys had also become very bad. So anyway, so he gets to this hospital. He can hardly walk. He's being helped to walk. In fact, his son, who also turned up yesterday and I was there, had told me that him and his mother were sure their mzee would not last another 2 weeks. They were beginning to think they are going to have to bury him in a very short while. To cut a long story short, this man gets to this place, can hardly walk. He's swollen all over. He can't sit down. He can't, because he's bloated. So he started on some medication, and this medication is purely herbal, and it is a cleansing. It's supposed to cleanse your system so that your system works. The body is the best, knows how to best take care of itself, but because we take so many chemicals, we disorganize it. So some certain processes don't work, and that's when we feel ill. And of course, so this guy is given these drugs, is given these juices to drink, he's given some herbal tablets to swallow, and now he's been there for 3 weeks now. When I got there, so I call him because the place has it has no signs. You just get directions. Ukifika hapa angalia upande huu. So nilikuwa nimefika hapo nikaangalia upande huu. So I called him. I said, we are here because I was with another friend of mine who is also interested in that kind of treatment, the natural treatment. It's something we talk about a lot. And he said, I've just gone out for a walk with my friend. Give us about 10 minutes, we'll be back. And they came back walking. So I was like, are you telling me within 3 weeks, 3 weeks ago, you could hardly walk as you got in here? And now you're able to go for walks. And it's only herbal, no dialysis, nothing. He said, yes, that's how it is. Amazing, isn't it? The man, I call him a walking miracle. But I had a brief chat with the guy who runs the institution, and it's impressive. I'll be talking more about it. Meanwhile, please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you and have a good evening.